Sam uses to cut through from one piece in the front.
And so that's my question.
What we've told the Browns, and what the council has said publicly, is we will work to provide suitable access. We've told Jim Brown, we've told Sam Brown. But I must tell you that the one brother has refused to talk to the town. So I can't tell you what will satisfy one brother. I can only tell you what will satisfy the other brother. Okay? And we've said that we will work. And if the town, for instance, if the town weren't successful in its interpretation of Pughamp and the phasing, the town's left with no other choice then, but then to take that Southern Collector Road and run it through the park that's already in town and cause that impact on the farm that everyone wanted to avoid. Again, we went out of our way to try to locate a different alignment. And I guess if we lose, we're forced into it, whatever it is, I guess we'll move it over. And the damage will occur, whatever that is.
Okay.
And that would be unfortunate, but if that's the vote, we have, I think you use the term Hobbesian choice. If that's my choice,
Yeah.
I'm left with no other solution, other than to not build a road, which I understand there's some folks in the community that don't think it will achieve some objective, but others who have looked at it, including town consultants, some entities of the county have said it would be approved, and VDOT said it would provide some benefit.
This is that plan.
I don't know what, so that's.
I don't know what the dispute is with us now.
What seems you're challenging our ability to construct a road on a piece that does less damage to the farms.
Now, my question is, what are you going to do so that the Browns can continue to farm their operation?
We said we give them access in some either on the road, under the road, but again, until we can move forward and actually design the project, you can understand it's impossible to tell them how that access will be. Or when one of the two parties has said, I will not discuss it with you, I can't answer his question.
Okay. Well, I asked.
So the county still encourages the completion. You're not.
It's in our
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
It's in our plan. It's still in our
It's in
plan.
the current plan, it's in the draft plan?
I personally don't support
I
that
understand.
road. You understand
I
that?
understand.
The county does.
Right.
Okay.
The county does, and there was no dispute at the planning commission on that discussion.
Public facilities.
Parking lot law.
Yeah.
I read with some interest, a perspective, and share a perspective of what transpired in parking lot lots. And I was kind of curious because there was a meeting of all the western towns here that brought up the very issue of how the county should proceed based on their perspective with parking right lots for western Wyoming. To a town, they said, we prefer smaller individual lots in our locations rather than one mega lot to serve everyone.
If you don't mind, that's not my understanding of what the county is saying. I don't think I'm trying to.
Well, what happened, there ended up being a proposal, we found out, after things had been set in motion for some time, the town plan, to construct a 250 space parking lot on some property that was primarily owned by VDOT at Hurst Road and 287.
Correct.
And we went and met with VDOT to share our concerns about how it got to that point that we weren't brought in, and there were some discussions about their understandings from the county, how they would proceed in ours. And VDOT in the county identified the park and ride study that VDOT did in 2003. And it identifies a need in there of 150 parking spaces in Western Wyoming. And it picked Percival, and Percival wasn't the town of Percival. You look at the sub-area, it drew everything pretty much northwest and east and south of Leesburg primarily. And there's a good exhibit in there. And so this whole region, I think it was April 2003, said 150 spaces. So we were kind of perplexed why the county wanted to put 250 in Percival, giving some of its other commitments. Now, the Pughamp talks about a park and ride north of the bypass, not south of the bypass. And as you get closer to Hurst, it becomes more problematic given the
It
length
talks
of
about
the
a parking ride lot near that interchange.
Yeah, and
That's
the VDOT study, it said, well, there's language in there, it says north of the bypass. Absolutely.
Could you show that to me?
Absolutely. Next meeting, I'll be happy to bring all that in.
You have it here, Terry?
And VDOT even has a map. VDOT even has a map.
Well,
That shows, consistent with that. And I went back and just did some homework on it in the JLMA. What was the genesis for saying in the JLMA? I understand that, but the location. And I will not pronounce her name correctly, but she's no longer there. Karen? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And she identified, because this concern was brought up in the mid-90s, that was 94, 95. Yeah, and said that don't worry about it, it will only be 100 spaces. And Percival says, we had looked at it, said, well, 100 spaces is about right for us. And that was part of those discussions.
Well, excuse me, Tom, our commuter bus service has exploded in recent years. Right now, we're operating 39 buses, and we're going to 45. Almost 1 million passenger trips a year. And we are running out, we've been trying to find a permanent spot here in Western Loudon quite some time. I know some of you would prefer smaller lots, but smaller lots means buses travel hither and yonder, picking up riders, and it's not economically feasible. It costs more money that way from an operational sense, and so we are preferring 2 large lots in Western Loudon, 400 spaces total. We are proceeding with the special exception for the park and ride lot just east of Hamilton. There'll be 200 spaces. And we're proceeding with a park and ride lot at Franklin Park for 200 spaces. And we'll start with that special exception process should begin this week. Let me read what Prudence says. The county and town will support transit opportunities in UGA. Efforts to augment commuter bus service serving UGA will be encouraged. The county and town will cooperate with VDOT to plan for a park and ride lot, (S), with a bus stop in the town or UGA near the Route 287 Route 7 bypass interchange. The WNOD trail should be recognized and supported as an alternative transit facility for bicycles. That led us to investigate that piece of property there by the interchange. And we had a meeting here in this room, and 2 town council members and the town manager, and you all objected to that. And so we went back to a proposal that had been offered up the year before by a similar meeting, offered up by one of your town council members and one of the mayors to use Franklin Park. So that's where we're proceeding with Franklin Park.
Well, I think the point is we want to make sure that as we go forward, if there's another park and ride lot considered, that we honor that. I just want to read, since you want to read, I'll read from August 12, 2004, meeting decision summary of the JLMA Joint Policy Review Committee. And here was the consensus reached at that meeting. Encourage the location of a park and ride lot facility in the JLMA that is north of Route 7 bypass. There are other references to the northwest. The VDOT, I'm just going to say, the VDOT study shows that in the northwest quadrant, they have a cost estimate. They show 75 spaces. And just, so folks would know that the area that they were talking about when they identified the deficit. Again, the study that we were directed, that was the basis for the county's decisions in VDOT, was the VDOT 2003 study. So if things have changed, I'm not disputing that. The point is update the study, incorporate the towns in that planning effort, and work with them. VDOT included, for the 150 spaces, pretty much everything halfway between Leesburg and Percival, it looks like, somewhere east of Hamilton, and the rest of the county. Not 250 spaces for Percival. So the point is to avoid this potential dispute about what is the size and appropriate location of a park and ride facility. Back to our earlier problem with public facilities when we were updating Coogan, there needs to be a better means for the county to work with the towns and incorporate their perspective, understand your perspective about the cost. The county builds permanent park and ride lots and leases them temporary, but there has to be better coordination and not the take it or leave it my way or the highway.
It's not that, Tom, and you know it's not. We have talked with you all for years, trying to reach agreement on where to place a permanent park and ride lot out here. And we have settled on a piece of property that we own. The buses, we used that, in fact, last winter, from September till May, and there were no objections from anyone.
You're talking about Franklin Park?
Yes, Franklin Park. We used it. And it seems to me that since the buses will no longer come into town, you would be happy with that. It's 200 spaces there.
We're not objecting to Frank Park. I'm just saying if there's a third one, don't want to revisit the